part of the management team of a school or kindergarten attended by a child with spina bifida and hydrocephalus, and inclusion is your vision of education, this video is for you. I'm Slaveja Kostadinova from Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Bulgaria Association, and in the next few minutes we will try to find an answer to the question: how can the principal most effectively support a student with spina bifida and hydrocephalus? I also invite you to check out the Multi-in manual for school leaders, where you will find more detailed information. The manual is free on the project website. Spina bifida is a rare congenital abnormality, therefore it is very likely if you don't have previous experience with a child with such diagnosis. Thus, previous experience is not always an advantage. Children with spina bifida are so different from one another and may have very different needs. However, they have the same rights as all the other children. In most cases, school leaders do not have direct daily contact with students, but they create the environment in which the students function and have no less influence on their development than teachers, assistants, and nurses. One of the things that are important when it comes to identifying barriers and developing strategies to overcome them is to know the needs and the specific condition of the child. Spina bifida is a disorder of the closure of the bony arc of the vertebrae. There are three main types with many variations. In most severe cases, there may be varying degrees of musculoskeletal impairment, impaired voiding, and impaired sensation. Spina bifida is often associated with abnormalities in the brain such as hydrocephalus. Treatment consists of surgical closure of the defect soon after birth or prenatal. The presence of hydrocephalus also requires surgical intervention. A shunt is inserted into the cerebral ventricle, or the bottom of the cerebral ventricle is perforated laparoscopically. These surgical interventions compensate to some extent the consequences of malformations. However, this is a lifelong diagnosis and multidisciplinary care is necessary. In childhood, it places high demands on physiotherapeutic or orthopedic interventions. Hospitalizations are common. Management of urinary and fecal emptying is required. The regimen includes intermittent catheterization 5 to 6 times a day, performed by an adult or by the child. To get around, many children use a different combination of aids, including hand-rim drive or electric wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, splints, or walking sticks. Even those who move independently tend to get tired quickly and often have problems with coordination and balance. Children with spina bifida have various cognitive difficulties, both because of the common brain abnormalities and because of the differences in early childhood experience of these children compared to their peers. The combination of medical terminology and listing of possible complications, lack of preparation and experience with students with disabilities, often create an unrealistic image of children with spina bifida. The advice we give to all professionals is one: see the child. You can study the child's history, review the basic documents, or talk to the parents. But above all, meet the child in person and give the child a chance to show you her or his talents and strengths. We can summarize that spina bifida is a complex condition that has many variations. Therefore, the support that students need in order to overcome the barriers in their education is different for each student. Most often, this includes an accessible and safe environment, special pedagogical support, support for social inclusion, and help with the intermittent catheterization. In the context of an inclusive school and inclusive kindergarten, meeting these needs is a logical outcome of the team's effort to protect every child's right to education. As we said earlier, principals do not interact directly with the students, but they can design the environment so that all children can achieve their personal goals and develop themselves within the educational system. Again, we invite you to download the Multi-in Manual for School Leaders from our website. And now let's see how some of the tips work in practice. Ms. Kalina Nusheva, principal of Dimcho Debelanov Secondary School in Varna, will share her experience.
Hello, my name is Kalina Nusheva and I'm the principal of Dimcho Debelanov Secondary School in Varna. For more than 20 years now, I have experience in this very challenging system of education, taking various positions: teacher, deputy director of education, and director. Indeed, the work of the director is extremely responsible and challenging for each of us, considering what comes out in our daily work, and is often, to put it mildly, sometimes fire. In paragraph 1, if memory serves me correctly, I hope I don't make a mistake in front of the camera, and in Article 3 of the Government Regulation on Inclusive Education is clearly defined as a concept. Clearly defined, but actually it's a big challenge for all of us working on the educational system. Because inclusive education as a general aspect is about highlighting those extremely important skills to cope with the reality around us, and providing resources needed to enable every child to build skills and to learn in order to get the same access and also opportunities as other children in life. Simply put, inclusive education for us as an institution is about creating a community that promotes achievement for all children. The director's role is in creating the big picture, taking into account those very small details that are vitally important to the functioning of the structure itself, from building a team that is competent and empathetic, to recognizing the mission and the vision of the structure, to providing an accessible architectural environment, through the exceptional, direct communication with parents, to create the basic, positive environment for students to present their skills as well as their talents. At school, we have a child with spina bifida who is probably one of the brightest, the sunniest students. I still remember her first entry into this office, in which I'm currently commenting on these aspects. She came in just before her parents, in an electric wheelchair, and I looked so surprised and shocked that I was at a loss for words. After her entered her parent, her mother, and of course the Deputy Director of Education, who is in charge of the elementary classes. And we started having a conversation that was very personal. Very, I'd say, challenging, because the child had to be enrolled in a school with an accessible environment and shared her personal story. In fact, the big conversation we had was led by the child, not by the adults, and she made it clear that she wanted to study at this school. When I made the decision that the child with spina bifida, moving with an electric wheelchair, we call it a scooter, should be enrolled in our school, I thought, where, in which room the class would be located, so that it would be the most convenient for her. How and in what way, bearing in mind the location of the school building, she will enter the school and the classroom for the first time. That is to say, how to remove these little barriers that create discomfort, both for her and for everyone else, because this could happen. Talking about these apparently extremely simple details with the Deputy Director of Education, we decided that we should not leave things to chance, but act in advance the movement that the child will have on the first day of school, on September the 15th. And in fact, we did just that. The child came with her parents in the previous day. She used our accessible environment, going up by the available ramp to her classroom. We had to rearrange the classroom of the other classes a bit. The child had to feel all the emotion of passing through the arch with flowers and balloons. We also acted in advance in this situation. There were also people who knew she would use the ramp from the outside. They had to wait so she could get in before all the students. The children were aware of her presence. That is to say, the information had also reached the other parents. And so the child was maximally enveloped with an attitude that is nothing more than human as such. That is why I said that the director, as such, having specific responsibilities, must have been first a human being in order to account for those aspects that are important. The child certainly remembered this first official school day for her in our school.
Everything we've said and shown may look like small details in the overall picture of inclusion, but the truth is that these small steps change people's life. Let us remember this every single day. Finally, I again invite you to visit our therein website, a training platform on inclusion of students with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. There are resources available for your whole team: teachers, special educators, psychologists, health workers, and more. Good luck!